I'm Pamela Portnoy.
I'm Alexa Marie Anderson.
And no one's okay. When eyes of wide smiles turn, eyes settle, catching breath. Cheeks burn, chests rise and fall. Questions hang in the air like floating bubbles. Heat-coated skin beckons. 1,000 moments in 1 second. Come here. That's it!
That was great!
I did not know you wrote romance novels, Pam.
Seriously?
You know what? It's just a little side hustle I started.
That's gonna get some bored housewives, and house husbands. They're gonna be knocking on your door.
I take that as a massive compliment. Thank you.
You're welcome. So you actually wrote that yourself?
Oh, I know it's so hard to believe that I could have written something like that. That was horrible. What are you talking about?
I didn't mean it like that. I thought maybe you took it from something, or I don't know. That's why I asked.
No. I would never. No.
Abilities to write raunchy sex stuff.
I don't think that was raunchy at all, and it was just my vague attempt.
Lustful.
Yes, lustful. I think you discovered a new hidden talent.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. All right.
It's great.
You've got lust oozing out of your eyes,
Yes.
man.
Yes.
Well, that's appropriate because that's what this episode is about.
Get out.
Is that what we're here to talk about?
He's like, I didn't know that's what we were talking about.
Oh, whoops. Okay.
Now that I've turned probably 75% of the listeners away with that little poem, should we call it? What do we call what I just did?
I think a very appropriate introduction, I would say. Is it a poem? Did it rhyme?
No. Well,
No.
do poems have to rhyme?
No, no. Poems don't have to rhyme.
It just wasn't. I'm not gonna do my. I'm not gonna give my words that compliment of calling it poetry.
Roses are red, violets are blue.
But I will give myself the pass for making it so awful because Alexa refused to do the story for this.
Why
episode.
did you not want to read the story, Alexa?
I can't take myself seriously when talking about this stuff, so I knew I wouldn't be able to take it seriously.
I'm just fair warning,
I would
guys.
make it a weird joke. I don't know.
Whiskey sour, much necessary for this.
Yes.
Much needed for
I
this
am
topic.
drinking a nice hard glass of H2O.
Here's the thing, Dan. I'm going to
Not a
call
big-
you out because you were like, we should have a drink and chill out and just
I
shoot
know.
the shit on this episode.
Well, I mean, we can still do that. I just had a rather big Saturday, and I turned 40 next year, and I'm feeling it still. So,
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
so I mean, I was contemplating having a Scotch,
Nice.
but I was like, no, I should probably eat better and like have a good rest.
It's very responsible of you, Dan.
It's rare, but it happens.
Very responsible, and I feel like you probably need less like liquid courage to discuss this sort of topic than Alexa and I do, because she and I have been putting this off for a long time.
Whatever do you mean? Why would you say that?
I'm just saying you're more eloquent when it comes to the human experience, I think.
Of the human experience.
Let's just put it that way.
Fair enough. We'll go with that.
So we're talking about lust, and I wanted to start out by kind of posing a challenge to both of you, because that's kind of what I did with this story, is at least I tried to figure out how lust feels in my body. How does it feel to you guys, if you could try to describe it?
It's an overwhelming sensation in the groin area.
Just going right for it.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Here we are.
Like it's kind of this, I don't know how to describe it. Like I do think it does have the same kind of feelings as, when you see someone and your heart flutters and all this sort of stuff happens. I think it does have that that effect, and that's obviously connected with the downstairs area.
Uh-huh.
But I do think it it just, everything fires up that would be required for you to mate, basically.
Yeah.
Because I think if you want to get into the like evolutionary kind of part of it, lust, especially out in the wild, like there's a lot of animals that will just go boop, 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 to procreate, like procreate as much as they can.
Yeah.
And quite possibly the feelings that come with lust is I need to procreate with you, and then you move on. And so that's why the heart flutters, everything that, sexual desire, everything like that kind of comes into play, like organically, if that makes any sense. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
No, you absolutely are making sense. I think it makes, I think it's a really valid point to make that biologically it's supposed to feel good to procreate, to give more incentive for doing it.
Well, it's the only reason it feels good. Exactly right. Let's do something that makes you feel good so you continue to keep the species alive.
Yeah.
Like that's the base brass facts, or whatever it is, or whatever you say in that terminology.
The logistics of it.
The logistics of it. And then of course our higher brain comes into power, like our frontal lobe, which then creates society and love and all that sort of stuff. I've read some stuff that like the 3 chakra centers below our heart are actually our natural animal-based chakras, and that's where sex and digestion, and then willpower and the adrenal glands. Like if something happens and you've got to run away from prey, and that's what a lot of people live in. And then of course you've got the higher ones, which is the heart and the throat and the pineal gland, and then you've got the middle of the brain, and then you've got the one up top, which is like connected to the universe, if you want to go into that direction. But the 3 ones down below are designed for our survival.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting that I know I freaking love the NPS. Like I started the meditation that you recommended recently.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I'm very excited about that. But it kind of reminds me of hunger a little bit. The lust, and it's also like obviously in that area, but hunger is like a painful feeling, whereas like lust, I mean, I don't know what it feels like for a man, but like men always like refer to like blue balls. So like if it's not fulfilled, like they say it's painful, but I don't know if it's just like a trick that they're playing. But
it's God's evil kind of like, ha ha ha, that's what you get for being assholes. I'm gonna give you blue balls and it's gonna hurt. Maybe.
But generally, like being lusty isn't painful. It feels good, and it's just something that just like you feel like an urgency to satisfy. There's an urgency behind it.
Exactly. Very true. Whereas love is a long-term thing. Alexa?
Yeah, so I was like, you guys are doing really great.
What's it feel like for you?
I was gonna say, like, for me, like, I think about actually being like physically like hot. Like I get like blushing. Like I feel like my skin gets like hot.
Yeah.
And like goosebumps. That's what my brain immediately went to. But and obviously, yes, like it feels good. It's like you wanting something, almost wanting something that you're not sure that you can have. I feel like creates more lust.
Mm-hmm.
That feeling. I don't know if it's like sexual tension, like that kind of like hanging in the air, like the anticipation of it happening feels more lusty to me than it actually happening.
Well, the anticipation of it all. The anticipation of it all is like you're in your brain, you are going through the event. Yes. You are having sex or kissing or whatever it is you're doing. And so according to your brain, you're actually doing it. And so those feelings are like kind of happening and going on because the body thinks that, oh, are we actually doing this? Because
right.
Your mind. And then like the anticipation is like, oh, we're going to do it. And it's that kind of getting close. And so the body still thinks it's all happening. It's revving everything up to get ready for the event. And and so like flushing obviously is blood rushing to different areas. I think goosebumps are I don't know. I don't know what the Goosebumps generally.
Yeah.
I think the purpose of Goosebumps is to create more surface area on your skin.
Really?
Interesting.
I think so, because you know when you get goosebumps and it's cold.
Yeah.
Like I think it's to expand, like your hair's bigger or something like that, so it warms you up. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on that, but I think I remember hearing at some point that the whole point of Goosebumps is to, like, maybe create more surface area so there's more energy, so therefore more heat or something like that.
Interesting. That's fascinating because I feel like with a lot of deep emotions, I often will get goosebumps. Like it's not just lust.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like what. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you said that you get them like when you watch a really good performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that. I do that. No, I was. What was I watching? I was just watching a clip. I was watching a clip from.
It was Pamela, right? It was Pamela performing. They gave you goosebumps.
Yes, absolutely.
But in a very negative way.
I was watching Mad Max Fury Road, just a clip from Mad Max Fury Road, and I put myself in it, imagining like, oh, imagine if I made this or I was in this or something like that, and that kind of excitement and like, just it creates that kind of feeling throughout your body, the goosebumps, all that sort of stuff. It's just the hairs stand up on your back of your head. Yeah, I guess the whole excitement or the feeling of it pops that up. I'm just not sure why in all these different circumstances the goosebumps happen. We're going to have to look that up.
Yeah, 100%. I know. I'm like fascinated by that now.
So before we move on to the next question, I noticed that I fucked up and we're going to be editing this episode, so that's okay. But we're going to actually fucking introduce you, Dan.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Oh, right.
I mean, you don't have to edit it. You can just say, oh, by the way, I fucked up. This is Dan.
Okay, guys, by the way, I fucked up. This is Dan.
What's up?
You guys, this is our awesome guest. The wonderful, super talented Dan Feuerriegel is here, and I know I pronounced that right.
No, you did that right. You did that right.
How often does that happen?
Very rarely. Very rarely. Say it again.
Let's
make sure.
Feuerriegel.
One more time.
Feuerriegel.
Feuerriegel. Yeah, no.
Feuerriegel.
Cool. Yes.
Oh my God.
That's okay.
Like almost make up for introducing you. I don't know like how far into the podcast we are right now.
I mean, at least you've done it. Maybe at the end people are like, who the fuck was that?
We introduce you like next week.
Yeah, oh, by the way, this is our new guest editor, and last week's guest was Dan Feuerriegel. But yes, you are the very rare person that actually pronounces it pretty much correctly.
Pretty much, but that's not exactly correct.
No, the first time I heard it, I was like, oh, that's actually correct.
Feuerriegel.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
My agent in Australia doesn't pronounce my name correctly.
Really?
Yeah, and I've known her since 2002. When I first went in there, she was like Dan Feuerriegel, and I was too terrified because I was like 20 years old, no, 21 years old, and it was this big agent in Sydney, and I was too terrified to correct her, so I haven't corrected her since.
Should we like send this over?
Yeah.
No. I think it's too far gone now. It's like she'll just be like, "What the hell, Dan? Why didn't you correct it?"
Really, all this time?
All this
After
time? Yes,
all this time.
Oh no,
that's amazing. So okay. Dan is from Sydney.
Yeah,
correct.
Brisbane.
Oh my
yes,
God. Well,
I lived in Sydney for about 6, 7 years, but I'm from Brisbane.
Okay, good. He's from Brisbane, and we need to edit one of his websites because one of your sites said Sydney, or was it Wikipedia? I don't know.
Wait, what?
Somewhere online says that you're from Sydney.
Oh, yeah, whatever.
Don't listen to him. We have the source right here.
The internet never lies.
The internet never lies.
I mean, maybe, let's see. Well, I mean, I think one website said that my net worth was like, I think maybe like $20 million or something like that.
Oh, fuck.
I saw that one time and I was like, all right.
You're like, okay.
I posted that and I was like, thank you very much. I'll just go and somehow find this money. It's buried out in the backyard. But yeah, so the internet, I don't know how they came up with that. I don't know.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
It was in a lustful phase that they came up with that.
Yes.
So you guys probably have seen him play Agron on Spartacus. He also played Lieutenant Alan Granetti on Pacific Rim Uprising. And today, he is our guest
That is correct.
on No One's Okay.
My crowning achievement.
Wow.
I can die now.
Honestly, like, I agree with you. I'm kidding. 15 minutes into the podcast, we finally introduced him.
Yes.
No, it's
Beautiful.
awesome. Yeah, we were supposed to do this, I think, a little while ago, and then my power went out of my house for 10 hours.
Oh,
Due to
So-
what?
Gosh.
Due to a balloon. A balloon flew into some circuits and like blew 5,000 houses.
Are you
or something.
kidding?
No, I'm not. They said it was a Malay balloon or Malay balloon or something like that. So I had to look that up. And that's the kind of, I mean, I don't know if there's a different kind of balloon, but it looks like the balloons that you put helium in.
Oh, like
And, you know, they have to-
like a Mylar, like the aluminum
that's it,
looking
Mylar.
ones.
it's
Yeah.
Mylar. It's
Yeah.
Mylar. That's what, yeah.
So it's just like a birthday balloon that flew into some power line.
Yeah, some little prick had a birthday. And it just like ruined 10,000, I mean, 4 or 5,000 houses, and all their food's like gone sour. So I didn't have any power for a long time. And it is kind of interesting being in the dark with your own thoughts for a very long time.
Yeah. How was that?
It was kind of cool. I did some meditating. I did potter around on my phone as much as I could. I watched a bit of the debate, which was just completely, why should I have done that?
No, because that'll make you like afraid of the dark.
Oh my God, I was just like, what's going on here? And, like the whole Simpsons prediction of, old man yells at clouds meme that you see around everywhere. This was perfect description for that. But no, it was really interesting. Just dead quiet. You could hear everything. Of course, when that happened, like a couple of helicopters flew over top, and you're like, oh man, I hope someone's not like running around to all the houses trying to cause some shit.
Oh yeah, because
but-
that sometimes happens during outages, right? People like
Yeah.
loot and things like that.
Yeah, but it was quite interesting just to kind of sit down, and you don't realize how distracted you are in life
Mhm.
with lights, television, phone, laptop, all these things. And then when you kind of disconnect and maybe do a little bit of reading, it is a very interesting kind of feeling. There was no lust there though. That's probably what you should talk about.
Darn.
Darn it! I mean, that would have been good. The mood lighting was all set.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Beautiful. I had 2 candles.
2 candles.
Aw.
I thought you were gonna say I had 2 cats because your
I do
cats
have
were
2
probably
there are 2
there.
cats as well. They were just
Yes.
chilling out next to me. They loved it. They absolutely loved it. They were just chilling out, running around. It was dark. They run around, pretend to hunt and everything like that. So they were having the time of their lives.
Yeah, because that's kind of
Aw.
more their speed is less of the
think
like
so, yeah.
human stuff.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
awesome.
Absolutely. Because you'll hear them pottering around and fighting in the middle of the night. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Dan, speaking of lust, oh, this is a question for everybody, I guess. I feel like lust is unique in that it's an emotion that really doesn't develop until later, and I could be technically wrong. But I feel like it doesn't really develop until, puberty, until like you're in your teenage years.
Well, when your body starts to go through the process of being able to make a baby.
Right. So
Yeah.
what was it like when you first started experiencing lust?
Oh my God. All right, getting real here. So all right. I don't know if you'd call this lust. This could have just been hormones going nuts. But I think I was in grade 7, so I would have been 12 or 13 years old, maybe younger, I'm not too sure. We did sex education. And so we learned about, the birds and the bees and everything like that. And then I went home and I decided to try out what we had learned. And
Nice.
I got scared the first time and stopped.
At what point?
Wow.
The point of when the orgasm was about to happen.
You're like, something's wrong.
No, it did. It felt like it was like this kind of like heat feeling was building up, and I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" And I stopped. And then maybe a couple of days later, I let it all happen. And goodness gracious me, from that point onwards, just anywhere I could. Now, I don't know if you call this lust, but my body was telling me every which way to go for it. And then as I got a bit older, my teenage years, what lust was for me was basic instinct.
Okay.
I think that's a perfect example of lust. It's just pure kind of like sexual, that's it. There's nothing else kind of involved. But that was like lustful for me. I was like, that was material, shall we say. I don't know how graphic I can get with all this. But.
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
But that was my lustfulness during my teenage years. It was just, I just did it all the time. But then I guess as I got a little bit older, I guess depending on the sexuality, is like I started to become attracted to, girls and particular scenarios. And then friends would talk about things and you would just kind of naturally start to get interested in all this sort of stuff. I do remember when I was younger than that, and I used to go to after school care when I was at school. And I remember this older girl and I had feelings for her. And I guess that would be a kid's version of, I don't know, lust or something like that, but just completely unaware of what was going on. I also had a crush on this girl at school called Chantel. And you just don't know why. It just kind of happens. But that was kind of lust for me growing up before I started to, as you said, like understand what was going on. And you just go through all the firsts, which were like, you look like all of us look back now and you kind of go, what was the big deal?
Sure.
Totally.
And then but back then, like, holding a girl's hand, getting your first kiss, doing this, doing that was such a big fucking deal.
Everything was heightened at that age.
Yeah,
Everything
exactly.
was either
Everything's
the
so
best or the
heightened.
worst.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And so I guess what it was, like lust for me, was just the hormones going to town and basically pushing me in the direction of like, hey, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And then as you grow up, you start to learn what's right, what's wrong, all this sort of stuff. And you learn to, I guess, control it or, use it for the greater good.
What would be the greater good?
I don't know. I was just saying.
It's interesting because I've had like crushes on boys since I was like in kindergarten, but like it was never obviously like associated with lust. It was just more of like it was a crush, but like why?
Yeah, I mean,
I like this person.
My stuff might not have been lust because I know I was younger than 11 when I first started doing my stuff, but there's something going on. And I don't know what, maybe it's like kind of lusty feeling. It's preparing you or something along those lines. You don't know that. But yeah, sorry, I just completely steamrolled your
No, that was it. I think it's interesting. I would like, it's funny that you were talking about all the time because for me, it like wasn't all the time until I was like much older.
Yeah.
like yesterday, probably. No, I'm kidding. But not far off. I don't remember feeling like crazy. I don't know. I did read somewhere or hear someone that like women do get like a big spike of that like in their late 20s. I don't know where I necessarily heard that.
The dirty 30s?
Sure, let's call it that.
The dirty 30s, that's what I've heard. Like the dirty 30s. Like I've heard that with guys, the early 20s is their like, and then women are late 20s, early 30s or something along those lines. I don't know why.
Yeah, like biologically, I don't understand why it would be that age for men, but I kind of do understand for women a little bit. But yeah, it's interesting that it's not like necessarily the same age.
I think like if we just strip everything back and go back to our lizard brains, we, like, all of us are around the ages where we died, when we were like back in like 40,000 years ago. And so I don't think, what I've read is, I don't think biologically our brains have evolved beyond the initial, like, those kind of survival periods, because there's no need to evolve, because science is making us capable of doing this and doing that. So the body doesn't have to go, oh, I don't have to change anything, because, you know, we're not dying at 35 years old. And, you know, like when they say, like, you put testosterone into your body and your body stops producing testosterone because it's going, oh, I'm getting it from the outside sources. So maybe we're still stuck 40,000 years in the past, like evolution, like biologically. And so with men, like 18, 19, 20 is the, you know, do it, have the baby, make sure the baby's old enough to survive itself, and then you go away. But perhaps, and correct me if I'm wrong, which I'm sure I am, but I think biologically it might be similar for men and women, but when it comes to sex, are women more comfortable in their late 20s, early 30s? Is that something that, so that's different to biology? It's more to do with
your mind,
themselves?
I kind of think so. And I also feel like it has to do with probably society as well.
Yeah.
Because I feel like women are not really taught to embrace their sexuality. At least I wasn't.
Baby, what?
At least I wasn't. I mean, I was going to say, like, I feel like I really didn't even notice boys like that until I was in high school. Like, honestly, I just was like doing my own thing. I was also kind of I was an awkward teenager. So I just really wasn't paying attention until we got to high school. And, you know, I kind of felt like society, like, you know, being in school with all these other girls that like had boyfriends and things like that, I kind of felt like I needed to go that route too. And then eventually it just kind of like fell into place. But yeah, I feel like it might have something to do with us not embracing it as much as men do, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe because, I mean, maybe societally there's bigger consequences for women than there are for men.
Yeah.
Men can't get pregnant. So I don't know. I think it could be a combination of both. Like society definitely plays a part. I do think that society is way more liberal when it comes to you know, sexuality. I mean, I don't know. I have to go ask the kids these days. But I mean, you just go on Instagram and you'll see that that's the case. Like you just click on like Instagram and you like Reels or whatever it's called nowadays, and you got like men and women kind of twerking and doing all that sort of stuff, and you kind of go, how old is this person?
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me if a number of them are like under the age of 18. And also as well, sometimes you can't fucking tell.
No. Yeah.
Especially
like,
with all the filters and all that stuff. It's just crazy.
Yeah. And the makeup. I'm like, I did not look like this when I was that age.
Looking at, I mean, it's different for men, but looking at me when I was young, I was like, man, I look like a kid. Like a kid. And yeah, I just look like a kid. I mean, look at me. I'm wearing a Homer Simpson shirt.
I love it. You guys are matching. I missed the yellow memo.
I know, we did. Yeah, we are. We got the yellow going on.
I'm still a child.
I love that. Yeah. I don't know. I like always noticed boys, but like I mean, I grew up in a family where, you know, my grandparents would like tell me that you only kiss the person you were going to marry.
Nah.
You know, like,
sweet.
So it was never like something that was really like discussed in the family, other than like, don't do it.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't think I was never told anything like that. Like I've got 2 younger brothers and a younger sister. But when it was all us boys, I don't think we ever were told don't do. I mean, yes, we were like, be safe, be this, don't do this, don't do this. You know, obviously wear protection, all that sort of stuff. Da da da. And I remember when I broke up with my very first girlfriend, and I was upset. Like my dad was like proud of me, and it was not because I broke up, but it was just like, you're going through things. You're becoming a man. You're like, you know, you're going through things that I went through. And so my dad was like, you know, he was like, "Oh, son," he was like, "Oh, let me talk to you, boy."
Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We're talking about lust.
I know. I feel like we keep getting.
Well, I mean, like it all derives from lust, at least in my opinion.
Totally.
Like if we've equated lust with sex and sexuality, well, not sexuality, but sex and like procreating and things like that, then it all stems from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all 3 of us are actors on here, and I wanted to talk about what kind of roles and performances you've had in the past where you've had to portray lust and how that worked out for you, how you approached it.
Who's going first?
I'll go first. I probably had like a vastly different experience. I've had a couple of I've like done a sex scene before. I've done like lots of like kind of, you know, scenes where I had to portray, you know, feeling lusty. And I don't know, since I don't have as much experience with those kind of scenes, and so maybe I could count it on like one hand. It felt a little robotic to me in the moment because there are so many people watching you, and it's very choreographed, and usually your partner's like super respectful, so like between takes everyone's just checking in to make sure that like this other person okay is like everyone's like safe. So it's more kind of doing the work on your side and trying to see what the other person is bringing and trying to meet in the middle. But to me, that always feels a little, it's like a dance.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, you're 100% correct. Probably I've done a few intimate scenes in the past, but then the biggest one that I had to do was a show called Spartacus. And I had like a couple of quite lustful scenes, and then a sex scene. But by the end, the sex scene was supposed to be more love making and things like that. But one of the scenes previous to that was quite lustful, where we slam each other up against the wall and we kiss each other. You know, we start to put hands down pants, and then we get caught. And so Pana and myself, Pana was my acting partner in the show. So we were playing gay characters, and we're both straight. So we just said to each other, look, we got to make this look real. Otherwise, it's just disrespectful to people watching, because you're supposed to be doing a job. You're supposed to be telling a story. And so we just said, well, let's do this. And we were like, all right. And we just, boom, went for it. And like you try and imitate as much as you can that lustful, what you would do lustfully and all that sort of stuff. And then when we did the sex scene, I agree with you. It's very robotic. It's not the most romantic atmosphere. But when obviously everything's all put together, you can go, oh, wow, it looks fantastic. It looks really lustful, looks romantic, looks beautiful, that kind of thing. There was one point where we did a scene, if you've seen the show, in a little part in the sex scene where I'm on top of Pana and both completely naked. And the camera is kind of going on a little dolly, I think it is, in between curtains, so it kind of has that romantic look. And the director was like, "Look, just do what you do. We're just gonna start shooting, and we'll tell you when to stop." So we're like, "All right." And of course, beforehand, because you got to be respectful to each other, and it's like, "Okay, I'll do this, and then you can do this, and then we do this and this and this and this and this," and we're all right, cool. So we ended up doing all that, and then the camera was still rolling. So we're like, "What do we do?" Because you don't know what you can.
The other person's okay with.
Yeah, what you can and cannot do in those moments. But we just kind of, I think we ended up like getting on the same page, was just repeating what we did. And then finally it's like, cut. Yeah, I think it felt like it went for like 2 minutes or something like that of just straight, filming us and everything. And then like 10 seconds is in it. But that was lustful for me, was trying to bring as much of how it would feel and the realness to the scene as you possibly can. And so that was lust for me in my scenes.
Yeah, it's almost like choreography.
It is. It's absolutely.
Yeah, it's all physical, and then trying to obviously bring yourself into it, which I feel like would be very difficult. I don't have much experience with this.
I mean, you did Chicago, which is a very sexy show.
Yeah. But that's so different. Well, and because I'm dancing, it's easier for me to, I feel like, because it's connected to dance with that, because it's a musical. I mean, the only other thing I could think of is Marvel's Runaways and lying in bed with two other humans. But
oh my.
Yes. But that was really, I mean, that actually was really fun. And like, we were just lying in bed for like, couple hours and just getting along and making jokes. I mean, we just had to pretend we were asleep. Like, it was a threesome, but like, I love how I did that with 3 fingers.
It was a threesome.
It was a threesome. This is how you say it.
Was it the aftermath? Was that what it was?
Yeah, it was the aftermath of it. And we were like kind of like, cozy and like waking up from that.
We're exhausted.
Yeah, we're exhausted. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, not much. I mean, there's no sex scene or anything like that. So I find all that very fascinating about how that works.
No, totally. And it also depends on the production that you're on. Like if you go and look at, say, I think, was it Nymphomaniac? You remember that trilogy of TV, the movies with Shia LaBeouf?
Oh, yeah.
And I think they did all that for real. I think a lot of that was, I think so. I know there are a couple of movies out there that they did it for real.
Okay.
And
I wonder how that works.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, how do you
negotiate that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess it comes down to the actors.
Yeah,
like if the actors
comfortable with.
Hey, yeah, let's do this, and then they're like, all right, cool, and then they just film you kind of doing it, and then knowing that this is the kind of show that it's going to be. This is, I mean, this is the movie that's going to be made. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that was.
I think I heard something along those lines too, but I could totally forgot about that. That's so interesting. That is really interesting. For those kinds of scenes on bigger sets like that, how is intimacy handled on set? You said that they were kind of just letting you do your own thing, but is there like an intimacy coordinator? Is there?
Well, Spartacus, when we shot this, was back in 2012, so this was before any of that was introduced. I mean, of course, they closed the set. It's what's known as a closed set, so only the absolute needed personnel. So like makeup artists for both of the actors. You've got the DP, you've got the director, you've got the sound people. And then everybody else is not allowed in set, and a few more people that like to look after the set and things like that. So closed set, you're not allowed to go in there. As soon as you are in between takes, like the makeup people come over and like put robes over you and make sure you're all good and comfortable. But I think nowadays they've got like intimacy people who are there specifically just to go, are you okay? Did this happen? Did this happen? Are you comfortable with this? Are you comfortable with that? I mean, I guess it's because maybe things get lost in translation, or people aren't maybe not open enough to be like, hey, this doesn't make me feel comfortable, or are you comfortable with this, and all that sort of stuff. Maybe.
Oh, I'm sorry, you got cut off on that last part. What did you say?
Oh, I just went and didn't say anything.
Okay, good, perfect timing. Perfect.
No, I think maybe because maybe it's kind of somewhat not taboo, but because it's such a vulnerable thing to do, some people don't want to be vulnerable, so they won't talk about it. They won't go, hey, this actually, I don't feel comfortable with this. Maybe they're worried that the director is going to be upset, or the producers are going to be upset, or the fellow actor is going to be upset, or anything like that. So that's probably why that job was introduced, because their job is to go, are you okay? Are you okay? Let's do this properly. I did hear a story, but I have heard that maybe it's like an old wives' tale of, I think Denzel Washington was on set and they were about to do an intimate scene, and he said, don't be offended if I do, don't be offended if I don't, which is basically, don't be offended if I get an erection, don't be offended if I don't get an erection. And then so I told that to somebody, and somebody said, oh yeah, I heard that so-and-so said this. So it could be not true, but for me, that's kind of like a, I guess a responsible way of going, hey, look, this is what we're going to do. These things can happen. And I think if you put things out in the open, then it creates, it's less likely to make things uncomfortable, I think. So that's probably why the intimacy coach is there.
Absolutely. And I've heard like bad stories about people being on set, and then they had negotiated a certain amount of nudity or a certain amount of intimacy in the scene, but then on set they feel sort of pressured to do more. So I think that also helps with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I've had a good friend who was on set, and they were like, this is what I was signed up to do, this is where it's going to go. And then of course on the day, we want to put the camera here, we want to do this, we want to do that, and she's like, no. And so she goes to a trailer, and of course the producer comes in and is like, you fucking bitch, and like went to town on her. Wow. And my friend is actually, don't you talk to me like that, and kind of stood up to him. And I think they got production halted or something like that, because they just rang SAG and went, this is what's going on. And then SAG was like, kind of fixed some stuff up and then smoothed it all out. But yeah, she was a trooper, and she was like, no, fuck off, and just didn't let some fat prick kind of make her feel useless because she wasn't willing to do something that she'd already agreed like not to do. I think I said that correctly.
Good for her. I feel like that's very difficult to do, especially when you're there to work and you want to deliver. It's really difficult, and so I commend her on that.
It depends on your power. It depends. Like if you're a newbie coming in, you're like, you don't want to upset anything. But if, such say, Angelina Jolie came in, she could be like, no, fuck off, I'm not doing that, and people will listen to her.
Right.
But and I think it goes to it's the same for guys and girls when it comes to people who are just new to the industry, or this is their first big gig or something like that, and they don't want to upset people because they think everyone's going to control their lives and stuff like that. But I also do think there's a lot less of that now because of the Me Too movement, and people are starting, eyes are open, and like, people are taking this shit more seriously.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's, in an ideal world, like people that aren't seasoned and that are more like newbies on set would be able to speak up, but like to like understand like the sort of pressure that someone's, a new person, a relatively like green actor would feel on set, like that. The fucking amount of effort that it took just to get to that set. And that's just fresh in their mind. So like, I'm sure all that they're thinking is, I just don't want to get fired. I don't want to lose this opportunity that I worked my ass off for years to get. And that's a sad reality, because I think everyone should be able to say, no, I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah. No,
so I think it's good that those changes have been made.
Yeah,
Agreed.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Alexa, do you have any thoughts on any other thoughts on lust?
Guys, no.
Like,
We've
guys,
been avoiding this for so long.
I really want to
why?
say yes.
So like we did fear, we did rage, we did loneliness, vulnerability even, and vulnerability took some convincing as well for both of us. But
Well,
we had
I think
lust.
vulnerability flows into lust as well.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We had thought about doing lust since we started outlining the podcast, but we just kept like pushing it away. And we're like, it would be great to have a man on to have like a different perspective. And you were like the first person I thought of for this episode, even like last year.
Yeah, we've been planning this for a long time.
So why, this is what I'm curious about. So why is lust something that was so hesitant to do for you ladies? This is my podcast now. I'm going to ask you.
Yes, it is. Okay. All right.
Ladies, so what was it for both of you that why this was such a kind of a topic, or why was it a tough one for you? Alexa, you can go first.
I'll go first this time.
This time. Oh God.
It's interesting. Like I just think I wasn't brought up to talk about things like this. I feel like it just really stems from my childhood, to be honest with you. And it was also, my parents were never like, no, don't do this, don't do that, blah, 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 whatever. I would say I grew up, we were pretty open about things, but it was kind of lust and like sex and things like that. It was it's happening, but you don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Like,
did you
know
go
what
to
I mean?
an all-girls school?
I did not. No, I went to public school.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it like there? Like when you've got boys and girls who are going through some changes in their body.
Right.
Where their bodies are basically telling them, hey, do this.
Yeah. I mean, I do feel like everything was super heightened, and like there was a lot of PDA in the hallways. Like I always noticed that. Like that was a huge thing that my friends and I would actually talk about, interestingly enough. Yeah, like I feel like that was a big thing to do, was like to hang, if you had a boyfriend, you would hang out in the hallways before the bell rang, and be like kissing or making out or like hugging. Like everyone was very like touchy-feely with their like in the hallways. Like PDA was a huge thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of turned me off sometimes. I was like,
is that a social status thing?
Totally.
Yes.
Totally. Yeah, totally. And like it kind of turned me off because I was like, I'm really just trying to get to my locker and like get my books and go to class. And like, but then I also felt weird for thinking that. Like I was like, why don't I like PDA? Like I was always judging myself for it too at the same time. I was like, oh, is that weird? Like it's not my thing. So I think at the same time, like I was always judging myself for not being at the same level as other people were with it, as open about it.
I know exactly what you mean in regards to that. I went to an all boys school. So we as we got a little bit older, then we started talking about girls, and I think it took until grade 10. I don't know how the years work for you. We go from grade 1 through to 12, and grade 10, I think 9 or 10 is when we all admitted that we masturbated. That was like the first year that we all admitted that we were like, I do it. And everyone's like, yeah, me too. And then we all like, but yeah, like a guy going out with this girl or this guy going out with this girl. Cause we would all like, catch up with all different, like sister schools and things like that, like all girls schools and things like that. And so it was the same. Oh, that guy's going out with this girl. Oh man, this person. Oh, that girl likes you, and all that sort of kind of like, kind of stuff going.
How was that?
Like that's my gossip sound.
That's the gossip sound. I love it.
And then of course something would happen at a party over the weekend, and then like all the gossip would happen, but then like the guy would deny it or the girl would deny it. So there's that fear of like, oh, are they going to call me a slut or da 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 da? But I kind of feel that this is what everybody wanted to do. And then society comes on top is like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You would be called a slut if you did this. You would be called this, even though the bodies are telling them, no, do it. You're supposed to be doing it. That's what I'm created for.
Yeah, it kind of felt like if you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, if you were a girl, because like it was like a status thing, but then also like you hear other girls talking about like, oh, she hooked up with this person, like what a slut, like can't believe she did that, like dumb stuff like that, where you're like, well, what do I do?
I think that's just that kind of like when you look back on it now, that's the most interesting thing for me is I look back on it and you kind of go, it was all just. That was just like self-consciousness. It was like all that, oh, she did this and this and this. Probably jealousy. It's like, how come that guy hooked up with her? And oh, look, like all these guys really like her. And when you look back on it now, you kind of want to say, well, so what if that girl wanted to hook up with 4 guys over the year or 5 guys?
Right.
Like, so what? I mean, let her enjoy life, just like the guys. Let the guys enjoy life. That's what they're wanting to kind of do. But yeah, society says no, 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 no. Depending on, I guess, what side of the, I guess, say political aisle you're on. Like you've got conservative people, which are like, no, 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 like be responsible, and another side is no, be liberal. Maybe kind of in the middle is probably the safest route to go. But that's how I see it all back then, because it was the same with me in regards to like I remember being at school and on the weekend I hooked up with a girl, but I was also very shy about things, so I wasn't exactly the most open when it came to details and things like that. And like, of course, they're like questioning me, what do you do, all that sort of stuff. I'm like, oh, you know, I did this and this. And then of course the next day, like, or the next week, I like, you know, the girl said nothing ever happened. Like the girl that I it's getting a bit too much now. The girl that I lost my virginity to denied it. And it was purely a at school thing that they didn't want to be called this, didn't want to be called that, and all that sort of stuff. And so I'm still a virgin. I mean, look at the shirt.
Yeah. The shirt says it all.
It says it all. It just says it all. It's like, don't come near this guy. He's got Peter Pan syndrome.
Oh, no.
I remember in middle school, we would be out at recess and lunch, and we would see like the popular, or should I do the 3-finger?
Yeah,
popular. Popular.
Just
Popular.
The popular kids were like paired off in like relationships, and one would always like, the guy would like be standing behind the girl and like have his arms around her waist, and like it was like that typical pose of like one person behind the other holding the waist. And my friends and I like hadn't had well, most of my girlfriends at that point hadn't had like hadn't gone out with the guy yet, so we were all kind of looking like can they detach, like what's happening. But I mean, I can't speak for my girlfriends, but I will speak for me. Like I would have a problem with it, but I think it was a lot of jealousy, because at that point I already like liked boys, but I felt like I was like so insecure. I was like 13, 14. I didn't, you know, I felt like nobody liked me. It was just, it felt like they were cool because they were paired off and I was not. Yeah, I think it's interesting that you brought up the status thing for sure.
Sure. And I think a lot of it all just comes down to just the absolute clusterfuck of insecurity that comes with being a kid and a teenager growing up.
Mm-hmm.
It's all comes down to like, oh, I'm insecure. Like, I mean, for me as well, I was 16 when I got my first kiss, and like, you know, oh, this person was kissed somebody before that, and all this sort of stuff, and da 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 da, and it was like that was supposed to be like the status of this and this and this and this and this. And all it was just the insecurity of yourself and feeling as though the only way you were going to be like cool or this or this or this was if you like achieved those milestones. And I was a very insecure kid. I was a people pleaser my whole like childhood and teenage years and everything like that, which still kind of blends into my life now. And I tried to be everybody's friend. And in one way I was like, this is actually a positive thing. Like I had my groups, but then I would go to other groups and chat with them. And I was just a super kind of nice-ish guy, but I was also quiet and shy and very nervous around girls. And it wasn't until I got a little bit older where I started to develop some confidence, because all of a sudden girls were paying attention to me. I wasn't getting any attention when I was a bit younger because, once again, status, this, that, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, it's just all about kind of protecting this thing here, which is the vulnerable part of you, which when you're a little kid is completely wide open and just accepts everything and doesn't care about anything, because it's like, yay, just love and happiness and all that sort of stuff. And then it all becomes about, I guess as well, like if you want to talk about it, sexual competition. If you want to go down that route, which is, that person there is, like status of this and status that. And if you look at it from a sexual competition kind of a point of view, what was that?
There's a fly in here, you guys, and it is driving me crazy.
Is it talking to you? It's like, Pamela.
It just landed on my head. I feel like, oh my God, I love that we're recording this on video so that someone fully just saw a fly land on. Someone's probably going to pause it and see a huge fly. But I don't know how it got in here.
Your face like going.
Well, the thing is, because I have my ring light, so it's attracted to the bright light. So it's like flying around here. And oh my God, that's so embarrassing. But sorry, Dan.
God. That's quite
just like,
all right. It's sort of like slapping your face and all that sort of stuff. No, it's just talking about it, like it's all a status in regards to your. What?
You froze. Sorry, for me at least. Did he freeze for you too, Alexa?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Am I frozen?
No, you're good now.
No, not anymore. Not anymore.
All right, sweet. Yes, like sexual status, social status, all that sort of stuff. Things that I guess at the time were very important, but maybe they're not so important now. I mean, of course, it's all about choosing the best mate for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's conscious or unconscious, because it's all about creating like the most healthy baby that you possibly can. And so men have particular statuses, women have particular statuses, and they all vary depending on your whether you're male, female, or other. So.
One of my favorite things about that aspect of it is pheromones and being super attracted to someone else's smell. Yeah. And I notice, like, if I'm around someone that I really like, I don't know. I haven't read into this, but I feel like I can get a sense for whether or not they're interested back if I get like large whiffs of them, because it almost feels like they're like peacocking at me with their smell. And I mean, that's like the vibe I get. That's like one of my favorite things is when you find someone that like smells really good to you. I think that's like a really cool part of
interesting.
Lust.
Yeah. No, I find that fascinating that you are like, they are projecting towards you because you can smell them.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I kind of take it, because if I can smell someone from, and I don't have like spidey senses, but like if I can smell someone from 6 feet away, some scientist is going to hop on and like be like, no, that is false. But I feel like, oh, maybe like they're interested back because maybe they're like puffing out like some sort of,
I mean, it could be, once again, it could be an unconscious thing that they're doing. Maybe they feel the same way about you, and that just generates this particular smell. Like, is it a specific smell that comes from them, or is it like fragrance or what? Or is it a combination?
It's a combination. It's just like what they smell like, and they could be far away, and I could just like, we'll be like in a conversation, and I will get just like a second of like a whiff of them. It's not like they're wearing a lot of cologne or anything. It's just like we're connecting, and then I'll just for an instant smell it really intensely, and then
so
it
are
goes
you kind
away.
of like in a conversation like, oh yeah, that's fantastic?
Oh, you're into this, eh?
Is that and then like, take my breath away.
Oh my! It's a whole moment. It's a whole like
you're just
like a montage.
You rode in on this particular person, and they've got these kind of like lights sticking out from behind them, and it's like you're in a teenage film or something like that, and this kid turns around, he's got the big 90s kind of hair kind of flopping down, and he kind of looks at you like, hey, what's up? And you're like,
I smell you.
I smell you. So good. And I'm like, what?
Ooh, am I the only one? Has that not happened to anyone?
No, you're definitely. I actually will never forget. In high school, I had an anatomy teacher mention something about it.
I'm like sweating talking about this, you guys.
She like mentioned it briefly, but she just said, she was like, you guys stop wearing deodorant, you'll really find out who you like and dislike because of your pheromones. And I was like, it's interesting. And like, I do remember like my first boyfriend ever. I was very attracted to him, but there was one time like he was a football player, and he had just like gone to practice and come over, and obviously like sweat doesn't smell great, right? But I was like so turned off by his scent, like so turned off, like I was repulsed. And it's interesting because, and at the time I didn't think much of it, but it's interesting because now with my current boyfriend, his sweat doesn't smell bad to me. I'm like, oh, this smells like him.
Lucky you just moved in together, eh?
I know. I'm like, oh, it just smells normal.
Yeah, like, oh, you stink.
That would suck.
Like he moves in, and I'm like, oh, the pheromones are off. You got to go back to Pittsburgh.
Clean yourself up, young man.
Yeah, seriously. But I think there's something to it. Like,
I mean, quite possibly it could be to do with as well, like just their overall health, how they eat.
Yeah.
No, but like because
do they brush their teeth?
Yeah, do they, but like all that sort of stuff. Like, because it's all about, I guess not all about, but it's about attracting the best mate to create the healthiest baby.
Yeah.
And if they're not this, if they're a bit this and this and this, maybe you smell that and you're kind of like, So you girls are kind of like the alien in Species.
The what? The alien?
Yeah. Have you seen Species?
I haven't, no.
At least Alexa knows what I'm talking about.
Excuse me. I thought you could be surprised by anything that I do wrong.
Well, I mean, okay, so this is another crush of mine back when I was a teenager, Natasha Henstridge. She basically, she was an alien, and she was going around going to mate. And she would be able to sense if somebody had like diabetes or anything like that. Because she's after a perfect mate to have a baby with. So, and of course, she killed people and stuff like that. So
you can just sense it. We just know.
Yeah, you just know. You're like, you stink. Get away from me.
You smell. It's not for me.
Smell. You're a stinky man. You're a stinky.
I'm not really one for reality television or anything like that, but I heard, I think on like one entertainment show that I listened to, that Kim Kardashian can smell when someone has a cavity.
What?
Yeah.
How? Why?
What do you mean?
I don't know. I feel like she has spidey senses.
What purpose does that serve?
She can let people know
to let people know when they need to go to the dentist.
You need to go to the dentist.
That just kind of reminds me of like Mean Girls, and she's like, I can tell when it's raining.
I have ESPN. That's amazing.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Dan, you don't experience that like with the smells?
Yes. I don't know if I've ever been in a situation it's just been like I've been like, oh God, but like if I've been with somebody or I've come close to somebody, like you become attracted to their natural scent. Mm-hmm. So I guess yes, I have, but I've never it's never been with somebody that I haven't been with like for a while.
Yeah.
Because I think it usually, like, if you want to just go down the lust route, it's just usually kind of either one night stands or a couple of catch ups or something like that. And generally people try to be on their best
on their game,
kind
smell
of,
game.
yeah, on their game and best behavior and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I don't know what it's like for other girls, because I don't wear any fragrance. It's just all me, baby, just el natural.
I once was speaking to a young man that I was fond of, and I'm like, what cologne are you wearing? And he's like, it's just me. I'm like, well.
That was so proper.
A young man that you were fond of. All right, Grandma. Back, he took me on a horse and cart. It was lovely.
Well, we were courting.
Yes. My dad said that yesterday when I was FaceTiming. He's and like when they're courting, I'm like, what, Dad? He's like, what?
I always used to call it wooing. Is that a thing? Like,
wooing. I'm wooing her.
I'm wooing her.
Wooing is a good one.
She's wooing me. What are some other terms? There's like, you got dating, you've got courting, you've got wooing,
sliding into the DMs.
Sliding into the
DMs. I guess that's modern day wooing, sliding into their DMs.
Mm-hmm.
Sliding into this, sliding into that, sliding into that.
Yikes, so much sliding.
Everything's just sliding in there.
That sounds very lustful to me.
Sliding into their DMs?
Sliding into their DMs sounds very sexual, I feel like.
It is absolutely.
Yeah.
You asked a question which was really interesting, like, why were we so hesitant? I feel like, unfortunately, in society, like, this is one of those things that is kind of, I mean, it's technically one of the 7 deadly sins, is it not?
Yes.
Lust. Oh, you're right.
7,
like, it's
films.
7?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love that movie.
Films.
It's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, the lust kill is pretty brutal.
I forget the lust kill. The one that stuck out to me was the gluttony.
Oh yeah,
kill.
Definitely.
And obviously, like, what's in the box?
The lust kill was he forced a guy who was sleeping with a prostitute to wear a giant blade on his penis. so that was. Have you seen 7, Alexa?
I have not.
Oh my God!
Now I feel like
Fincher
I've seen
film
it.
that you need to see.
You are missing out. You are missing out. It's a brilliant film.
It is brilliant.
Okay, I need to watch it.
But yes, that was the one that always made me go like, oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't show it except for a photo. It's all like what goes on in your mind, and that's why it's so like, oh God.
Those are always the horror films that get me the most, are the ones that like make you use your imagination instead of like actually showing you everything.
Yeah. I mean, like, just to go on your like societal kind of thoughts and things like that.
The shamefulness behind it.
Yeah. But like, I think 2 of the biggest podcasts in the world are Guys We Fucked.
Yes.
And what is it?
That's what it's called?
Yeah, Guys We Fucked. And they were both drunk. They were like, let's do a podcast. Mm-hmm. And they for the first, I think, however many podcasts they did, they would bring in guys that they had sex with.
Oh,
and they
fascinating.
Were just sessions and stuff like that. And it became super, super popular. And then there's another one. What is it? Like, She's Your Daddy?
Call Her Daddy.
Or something like that. Like, those 2 girls, I think now it's just one girl, but like they, like, one of the top, because I think everybody likes hearing girls being completely open and like, fuck it, this is what we like.
Because it is sort of taboo to talk about these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But that's why it's so popular, because it's like, ooh, as though they're doing something naughty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as well, I can understand, like, you know, you and I, all of us are like in a particular industry that it's about how people perceive you and all that kind of crap. But I think this day and age, I've always thought, like, fuck it. Like, seriously, just fuck it. Like, if somebody says something, you kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then they no longer have that power over you.
Yeah.
I agree.
Like, if just say, for example, somebody out there has a tape released or a video or of something that they'd sent released. And if you kind of go, yeah, I looked pretty I was hot. Enjoy it. Fuck you.
Right.
But then all of a sudden, no one can be like, oh, like
they've lost their power.
They've lost their power because you don't give a shit. But if you
Exactly.
cared and were like, I'm so sorry, and then they'll be like, and we can write more stuff about it. But if you kind of go, yeah, I look pretty hot, fuck you.
Yeah.
Then
Don't
they might
apologize.
and they might say something for a little bit, and then after a while, they're like, all right, let's move on.
You're 100% right. That reminds me of an episode of The Office. Have you watched The Office?
Oh yeah, I didn't watch it for the longest time. I only started watching it this year because
Dan. Same.
Yeah.
God, we're together. We're together in this.
She also just started watching Breaking Bad.
Okay.
Okay. I was late to the party for Breaking Bad as well. I don't know. I have a little bit of a like. I'm not watching that because everyone's watching it. But with The Office, I didn't watch it because I was so in love with the British Office.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's very different though.
Yeah, but then I think the first season they tried to replicate the British Office.
Yeah.
And then once they went off in their own direction, I started watching it and I was like, oh, that's fucking hilarious. And I got into it by watching the bloopers first.
Yeah. It's incredible. But there's one episode in particular where Michael gets really angry because everyone in the office is making fun of him. And Jim's like, just agree with them and they'll move on. And he's like, no way. He's like, you're an idiot. You're an idiot, Jim. And Jim's like, you're right. I'm a big, stupid idiot. And then Michael's like, no, you're not. And he's like, see?
Yeah.
I saw actually, I think he might be a psychologist or something like that, but he was going around to schools. There's a video online going around to schools, and he would get a girl to kind of come up and like say all these mean things to him, and he would get combative with the kid. And then he would go, okay, watch this. And then the girl would be like, no. And he was like, yeah, I know. And she'd be like, no. And he's like, oh, yeah, no, that's da-da-da-da. And she's like, and it just lost all of the kind of power.
All the steam is gone.
Yeah, all the steam is gone. All that sort of stuff. I mean, of course, that's a very basic kind of level. And then, if someone's a real prick, it starts to get kind of violent and, like all that sort of shit, then that's a different story. But yeah, you kind of, what I read is what I saw I think he was a neuroscientist, and he was talking about, just say you walk into a room and somebody's really angry and you're in a very, very happy mood. They get pissed off at you because you are not on their level in regards to their frequency. Anger is a particular frequency. Happiness is a higher frequency. And they will do what they can to bring you to their level. And that's like calling you names or say this or say that. And if you kind of like react to that and then react back, then they will actually start to feel better about themselves because you've gone up to their level. And so obviously he said the best thing that he does is to not get involved in somebody else's like negative space. It's like, if they're like this, it's like, all right, cool. I'm not going to get involved in this. And you kind of walk away, and it's better for you too. So
one of my favorite quotes is, never argue with a stupid person because they'll bring you down to their level and then beat you with experience.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
That's very, very good. That's very good. I like that. Beat you with experience. That's great.
Should we move on to like our favorite performances that demonstrate lust before our final segment?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's go for it.
Let's do it.
Well, I mean, I've already said mine. I said the Basic Instinct. That's the thing that just popped in my head.
Basic Instinct?
Okay.
Yeah, like that. It's all lust. It's all lust, and they go for it. I mean, you've got as well, I think it's Unfaithful, the movie with, is it Diane Keaton? No. Who is it? I can't remember. But that's that lustful kind of sexual, like, and all that sort of stuff. I think another one, I saw like one scene because people were going, oh, you got to watch this. What is that thing on Netflix, that 365 days or some bullshit?
Oh, yeah.
Which was just porn. It's just softcore porn the whole time.
Yeah.
But so many people like, oh, lust. And that's a perfect example of just all lust. Because it's like some super handsome Italian dude. And like, it has this kind of 50 Shades vibes about it.
Yeah.
And
that was actually one of the movies I wrote down, 50 Shades.
Oh, there you go, girl.
When you just said movies, I wrote down, I heard boobies. So we're definitely in the lust area here.
Oh,
One of my
Pam, that was
favorite
you, not
movies I
me. I
wrote
didn't
down.
do that. But yeah, I think Basic Instinct was the first thing that popped in my head. I just think, yeah.
That's a good one. I actually saw that for the first time earlier on in quarantine.
What did you think of it?
Wild.
Oh yeah, they did not hold back.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And that started the wave of those kinds of films, like what was it? There's a number of films like Jade and all these other kind of films that were all like really kind of sexually explicit. Like I think Sharon Stone did another one after that, and it was about the woman being very, very kind of sexually powerful towards the men.
Interesting.
But yeah, it started a wave of all those kinds of films.
Nice.
Yes.
Alexa, you said 50 Shades?
I have a couple written down. I wrote 50 Shades of Grey. I wrote Dirty Dancing.
Which Dirty Dancing? The original?
The original.
Okay.
Yes. I also just feel like dancing in general too, like can be very, like, I don't know, it can bring out lust in people. Like I almost feel like sometimes dancing is like not, obviously you're not having sex, but it's like the closest, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're using your body in the
right.
style
You're speaking with your body, right?
Yeah.
So
I like that.
Yeah. So I put Dirty Dancing.
I think Dirty Dancing is an excellent example because it shows that lust is it's not a binary thing. It's like a whole spectrum of things. Like for example, Basic Instinct is one end, and then you've got like Dirty Dancing, which is like here because it's all about not actually doing it, but it's
like building
up
that
an anticipation and all that sort of stuff.
I immediately thought of that one. And it's also a favorite.
Oh yeah. I thought of two as well. I thought of
Toy Story and
Toy Story.
No, Dan.
Okay, sorry.
I just had like one image of the hand sliding down in Titanic.
Yes,
before I said it, you guys
good
even
image.
knew. That's a great image of lust.
Yes.
The
I love
fucking
that we
condensation. That moment, I think. And then not the sex scene in the Notebook, but there's a scene where she like bike rides over to his house. He comes out and like they start making out against the wall of his house, and they like get so into it, and there's like a moment between them that's like so well acted, and it's like, oh, they like really want to do each other right now. It was just like very it was very well done, very well acted. The sex scene is obviously very good, but that moment sticks out to me even more when it comes to portraying lust.
I also find it funny that like you both had a very different type of film compared to me, and it probably shows the psyche that maybe men and women are in.
Totally, you're right.
With you straight up the leg.
Yeah, I'm like
crossover.
Sharon Stone.
Show
girl.
it to me.
Sharon Stone.
Yes. We're like, but this is how it feels. Dancing with your body.
Yeah. And then it's not the sex scene, but it was the part where they came together and they just were like.
I feel like it's interesting though, because I feel like for women it's more the sensual moments.
Yeah, or maybe it's all the moment before.
The moment before, yes, the anticipation.
Yeah. Whereas I'm like.
You're like, here it is, laid out on a table. That's what it is.
Cross my legs, not wearing any underwear.
Yes.
I just think it's also kind of makes sense because I don't know. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, but I feel like with women, at least speaking as a woman, I can be in the moment, but then the smallest thing can go wrong, and I'm out of the moment. And I feel like guys are a little different.
Yeah, we can ignore the moment.
You're like, you can figure it out. We're good.
Yeah, we're like, oh, all right. I mean, I guess it depends on the moment and all that sort of stuff. Do you mean like the moment of if
the person says something wrong, or if it's I don't know, a wrong breeze hits me,
Yeah.
like the wrong way. Something, I won't be in the mood anymore. It's just like I'm over it.
It takes you out of it. Like
I'm mad now.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Something takes you out of it. Yeah.
I think that makes perfect sense. I mean, there definitely have been times where like somebody has said something to me or something, and I'm like,
why'd you have to say
You're like,
that thing?
I don't want to do this anymore, but okay, I'll do it.
But see, that's the difference. I feel
Yeah.
like if I'm out of it, I'm out of it.
There's just nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think that that's like a person to person thing, or like a general difference in biology?
I think it's a combination of everything.
Yeah.
I think it's a general difference in biology. I think it's societal. It's individual. Because there's going to be a ton of men who are on the same wavelength as you. There's going to be a ton of women who are on the same wavelength as me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So like it could, like, I think a lot of it is biological, then as I said, society, and then individual, because there's no real hard or fast rule to do with it. Like I think maybe on the extreme ends of the spectrum is where you'll see the extreme versions, and then everybody else is kind of in the middle, just like a little bit of here, a little bit of there, and everything like that. So but on average, maybe it is something like more biological, because we're both, like you're a woman and I'm a man. So
Really?
Sometimes people maybe question that about me. I just spat at the camera. Sorry.
It's fine. Like, it's chaos in here. There's a fly. We didn't introduce you until 15 minutes in, probably because we're discussing this topic.
Yeah.
And we're so frazzled. We were. I feel like we leaned into it a little bit.
We were. Yeah. I think we were still recovering from your opening poem.
I know, my poem threw everybody off.
Yeah, yeah. We were like, oh, golly, Pamela.
Yes. I can't tell if you're making fun of me.
No, it was good. I want a copy of it personally. I want a signed copy.
Yeah. I'll frame it for you. You can put it on your wall.
Please.
Right above your bed.
Yeah.
How about that?
Ooh, that's a perfect
You can give it to your boyfriend.
Yes. I'll pretend I wrote it.
Smell nice.
Your boyfriend with the good pheromones.
Yeah.
He has great pheromones. He's got that going for him at least.
I want to just go next to him with a bottle and just kind of go, just hold on.
Just take that.
I'm just going to put this over here.
Yes.
I love that so much.
And if he's away, you just can go, oh.
No, but that's so, honestly, like, thinking about that, I'm like, oh, like if you get like your boyfriend's like t-shirt or something, it will smell like them for a while.
That's why we're after your guys' hoodies all the time.
Or a pillow, yeah. Totally.
Or what is that? You remember that movie? I think it was called Perfume or something like that, where this guy, he found the most beautiful women or something like that, and to create this perfume, he would actually like kill them and have them kind of like their essence like hang in the vat of perfume or something like that, and that's what everyone was like, oh my god, this smells so good. There's some like horror film or something like that.
That's so dark.
It's very dark. Very
Holy
dark.
Shit.
I kind of want to watch it though.
Yeah,
that
I think
kind of reminds me of
perfume. It's got do you remember the latest James Bond films?
A little bit, yeah.
You know the new Q, the young guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's him. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I'm pretty sure it's him. Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of like it puts the lotion on its skin.
Or else it gets the hose again.
I love that movie so much.
So good.
Anthony Hopkins is epic in that.
Yeah.
Are we ready for our final segment?
I mean, sure.
Let's do it.
I don't see. Did you see it that time? Okay.
I can't see the fly. I feel
okay,
like
honestly, I'm probably nobody can. Maybe the camera's not registering it. I saw it though, so I'm not crazy.
At that time you were in a little box, so you weren't the big box.
Okay. Well, we're doing great.
You're doing fantastic. This is great.
It's great.
Oh my God, Dan, like we're so happy you were able to do this with us today.
It's my pleasure. I've wanted to come on for a good period of time, and I love doing this. I love chatting about stuff, and as I say, shoot the shit.
Oh my God, the best.
Yeah, we should do another one. We should do another one on something else. Shoot the shit episode. I like it.
I love it. Dan, you're first because you're our guest.
Okay.
There is a right answer to this.
Oh shit. Okay.
Is he gonna get it right, Pam, or do you think
I honestly don't know.
I have faith. I think he's got it.
Dan.
Yes.
Are you okay?
Now I'm trying to figure the right answer.
Think of the title of our podcast. That will help give you a hint.
No one's okay. So I'm not. No.
Yes.
Why, Dan? Why aren't you okay? What's going on? Are you better than okay? Are you worse than okay?
I think okay is a very kind of an answer.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And it's not talking about the positive things that are going on. It's not talking about the negative things that are going on in your life. And your life is a combination of everything that's going on at the same time. And it could be, what if like something like really horrible has happened and you're kind of getting through life, and then you get to a point where you're kind of like, you know what, I'm okay. Like in that instance, I kind of think that's all right, because you are maybe better than what you were before. Because in that context, it kind of feels like, you know what, I'm not where I was before. And it's like a acknowledgement of, you know, I'm in a good place right now. But I can absolutely improve. But right now I'm in a good place. I'm not in that negative place anymore. So in that instance, I think I'm okay is all right. But of course, if someone's like, I'm okay, I think that's deflecting, and it's not really admitting where you are. So I guess it depends on the context and how you say it and what's going on in your life, whether or not are you okay is actually a reasonable response.
I think you're right. Mm-hmm. And in this particular juncture in your life, you got it. You fucking nailed it.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Fucking nailed it. In this particular juncture on this day.
Yes.
Are you more than okay or less than okay?
I'm more than okay.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I'm more than okay. I've as I've like spoken to you before about, I've been meditating since the beginning of the year, and it's all about just putting yourself into the future that you want and feeling those feelings of the future that you want, while acknowledging, you know, habits and things that you're doing that don't serve you correctly or don't serve the future that you want. And it's been a very lovely, eye-opening experience. Of course, I've got a long way to go. But it's been really, really good. And I'm in a much, much more positive frame of mind. And yeah, I'm in a good place to be right now. But of course, you keep going. You got to be in the moment. Keep going. So yeah, that's me.
Fabulous.
That's great.
Fantabulous.
Yes.
Alexa, are you okay?
I am at the moment more than okay. I wasn't, though, a couple weeks ago, and I've actually been working on that. I was not taking time for myself, and I was in a very bad place. Like I wasn't motivated at all to do anything. Because I was honestly just like exhausting myself, doing too many things and trying to please people, to be honest. And so I've taken a turn to like try to like do more for me, and it's been helping. So I do feel more than okay. And this was lovely. This has also made me feel more than okay.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. I mean, I agree with you with the doing so much and keeping yourself busy and busy work and doing this and being a people pleaser and things like that. I'm guilty of doing that all the time as well. I kind of feel like maybe sometimes that's you distracting yourself. One of the big things that I've been working on is my self-worth, and not letting the outside circumstances dictate how I feel about myself.
Yep.
I'm not letting my acting career dictate who I am as a person or how I feel about my person. Because as I said, I was a people pleaser my whole life, and being people's friends and doing things and not getting people angry at me and this and this and this and this and this was all because I didn't feel full or whole or complete.
Totally. I completely agree with you. I'm like, I'm going through that whole thing right now, but I think I'm in a good place, and to keep moving forward on that is going to be even better. But yeah, I completely relate to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people, I dare say, relate to that. But it's a lifetime of work, because you've got a lifetime of stuff that you've been put in your head. But good on you for acknowledging it, because that's the first step to getting rid of it, is becoming aware of it and going, oh yeah, and not beating yourself up over you being that way.
Right.
As I say, like, let your past be like, have your past be wisdom, rather than like, oh fuck, and this and that and all that sort of stuff. It's like, oh, I've learned so much from it, and I appreciate everything that I went through back then, because it makes me who I am right now.
I can't agree more. Yeah, absolutely. Pamela?
Yes.
Are you okay?
No.
What's up, Pammy P?
I am, for the most part, better than okay. I feel like I'm feeling a lot less anxious than I had been earlier on in quarantine. Meditation has also been helping me the last week, since you gave me that meditation, which was great. But I also have noticed, the journey when you're like auditioning, it's really never a straight line. So there's like a time period where like I'll just like submit an audition, then I'll be like, okay, I can let that one go. And then there are other times where I really have a hard time letting go of like, okay, doing the mental math of like, oh, when should I be hearing back by? Oh, like when can I like... But then I judge myself because of conversations I've had with you, Dan, of like, you really have to let it go. And then I'm like, well, because I can't let it go, does that mean that like I'm already like jinxing myself? Like,
I totally get what you mean, because I go through exactly that. Like there are a couple of gigs that I'm like, hey, I need to kind of find out about that, so I can let go of it.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge. The challenge is to kind of like, it comes into your life, you do it if you want to do it, and then you just let it, as I say, let go and let God, because you have no, like, let life control it. I mean, like, life might bring you this, and then it might bring you that. And I kind of feel like if something is absolutely supposed to be for you, I kind of feel like it's super easy. Or at least it feels like it's like, whoa, that just happened. That was kind of amazing. Like there was this job that I was in the running for. It was me and another person during quarantine, and they were shooting in Spain. And they loved me. They wanted me. They had no problems getting me a visa, getting me over there, all that sort of stuff. But the person that they dealt with at the consulate, who gets the fast visas, was away on holidays for 2 weeks, and they were on a time limit. So then they had to go with the other person, because it would not have worked out timing wise. So for me, I mean, that is the absolute definition of that wasn't supposed to be for me.
Right.
Because all of these little variables came into play to kind of go, no, this was supposed to be for this other person, this other guy. That was his job. And so I can't get angry at that. Like, of course, at first I was like, nah, and I did go into some old way of thinking, but you just go, okay, no, fair enough. And
when you say old way of thinking, what do you mean?
Getting upset about it and kind of going, oh, why don't I ever get this, and blah, blah, blah. And I suck, and I'm not this, I'm not famous, I'm not this and that, all that sort of shit. Because you just project that crap into the world. And so I'm like, okay, fair enough. That was not supposed to be for me. What is supposed to be for me is what I'm going to get. And I think the more you do that and the more you kind of jam that into your head, eventually in time, whatever you go for, you'll be like, all right, cool, that was fun. And then you kind of just move on. And so, and what I see that as you said, is it's kind of like living in the unknown, which is I'm not going to, as you said, I'm not going to think about, okay, am I supposed to have heard by now? Am I supposed to have done this? And because that's you thinking of the future from based on the past, rather than kind of doing it and going, I'm just going to leave it up to the world or the universe. Now, some people might be going, that's such hippie crap. But I've noticed that it's made my life so much better. Of course, it's still harder. There's a couple of gigs that I'm in the running for that I'm still kind of like, but I'm trying to just, I'm trying to just let it flow, let it happen. If it's supposed to happen, it's supposed to happen. And I kind of feel like the things that that happen for you are supposed to happen just come out of the blue. Like Spartacus completely came out of the blue for me.
Really?
Oh yeah, like I auditioned for it and then I let it go and then forgot about it for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then I got a call and I was like,
that
oh, shit.
long?
Yeah, it was about 2-3 weeks because at the time I think they were shooting and it had to like go to production, then it had to go here, and because it was shooting in New Zealand, had to go to New Zealand, then it went to New Zealand, went to America, and then kind of came back and all that sort of stuff. So it was about 2 weeks, I think it was. And then after that, that was when the lead actor, Andy Whitfield, he had pneumonia. So it was delayed for a little bit. So it took a little while, but it just came out of the blue. And I think things that are supposed to come for you just completely come unexpected out of the blue. And when you just let go and let God, as they say, if you believe in God or the universe or whatever it is, and just let life kind of come to you when it's supposed to come to you, while you actively do inspired action and go after what you want to and work hard and do all that sort of stuff. But but always have this belief that what you're going to get is what you're going to get. The way I kind of try and justify it with myself is just say there was a magic genie. And I think I've told you this before, is a magic genie and goes, you say, I want this. And they go, done. But I'm not going to tell you how it's going to happen, where it's going to happen, why it's going to happen, but it's just going to happen. And it might happen in a completely different way that you're thinking. And it might not even be exactly what you're thinking. It might be something that's off to the side, but gives you the same fun and feeling and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And if you knew that and you're like, oh, sweet. So you would then live your life and be happy, knowing full well that what you're going to get is going to come to you. And so that's the attitude that I've been trying to have of this just happiness of fuck yeah, it's going to happen. I don't know when, could be in 10 years. Who the fuck knows? But you just kind of try and be happy and grateful and and all that sort of stuff. Because it's kind of well, then why do you do this? If you don't know that you're going to get where you're going to get, why are you doing it? It's like people go, I'm going to do this for 3 months, and if nothing happens, I'm going to go home. You're like,
I know.
That is the dumbest thing. I'm sorry. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
That, and there are also people that do kind of an opposite approach where it's like, well, you should do this without any expectation.
Yeah.
Of being successful. Why not just do it because you love doing it?
No.
Well, I think it's nice to have goals. What's wrong with wanting to be successful?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Look at it like that.
Oh no.
And
say that again. You froze.
I was just saying, if you're doing something, you go, I just love doing this, and you get so much happiness and joy. What's life going to give you more of? What you love and enjoy doing. So you're going to keep doing that all the time because you absolutely love doing it. I think the expectation is kind of this, what it is you go for a role and then you don't have that role. So you're like, oh, I hope I get it. So you're telling the world you're separated from that role. So the world goes, well, that's what you're thinking. That's what you want. You want to be separated from it. Whereas if you're don't have any expectations and you genuinely that's your mindset and you love it and you believe it and you enjoy it and acting with it, then the world is going to give you more of, oh, okay, I'm going to give you this and I'm going to give you that because you love doing it and that's what you're putting off. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. It's just a different way that you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. That's beautiful.
I like to remind myself that I'm not always in control. I'm just not. And so that's why I have to let it go. I have to let it go, let it be, like you said, the universe will take care of it.
Yeah.
Because if I don't think that way, I won't be okay.
Yeah.
I will be less than okay, very much
But
so.
you think of all the crap that you put in your head when you think that way. Like it's
Totally.
unnecessary crap that you put in your head. But
Mm-hmm.
if you love doing it, and also like I'm always like, well, whatever's supposed to happen for me to get where I need to go is going to happen. So if it means that I'm not getting roles for like the next 2 or 3 years, excuse me, then so be it. But you just got to feel that kind of happiness, and eventually you kind of probably won't care that you're not getting this, because you know in your heart of hearts that, oh, it's going to happen. I mean, you have a look at some of the, like, you know, Alan Rickman and Samuel L. Jackson. I think Samuel L. Jackson was like late 40s, early 50s when he got his big massive break.
Yeah.
Viola Davis.
Yep.
Yeah, Alan Rickman was 44 when he did Die Hard. I mean, of course, in England he'd done lots of plays and stuff like that. But like, yeah, it's just everybody has their own journey. Some people are going to get something straight away. Other people are going to take 10 years. You know? And
totally.
you just have to put out what you want to put out. You know, I have to worry about, like, still, like, if I don't get something, I'm like, oh, and then start to think, oh, it's because I'm not this and this. No. Don't think that way. Just go, awesome. You know? And a friend of mine told me, it's like, well, you know, the fact that you're getting close to things, that's a sign. That's somebody telling you, the universe telling you, hey, keep going. But yeah, anyway, that's my hippy dippy stuff for the.
No, I like it, and it's really nice to hear.
Yeah.
It's really nice to hear, because it's funny when I hear people that aren't actors, you know, point out a role, you know, that someone got on TV and say, well, they barely even had a line, or you know, do you even get to talk? I'm like, do you know how hard it was for them to get that one line on that one show? You know?
Yeah, and that's another thing. Yeah, like society perceives things a little bit differently. They don't see all the struggle and toil that kind of goes into it. But right, we're here to entertain them. So that's what they need to do. You've got to entertain them.
Dan, this was so beautiful and inspirational and sexy and all the things.
Yeah, everything.
It was a lot of fun. I'm so glad I was able to have this conversation with you, and it was really, really good.
Thank you. Where can our audience follow you? And are there any projects that you have coming out that you'd like to share with them? What's going on with you?
So at the moment, you can follow me at the Dan Feuerriegel. Do I need to spell it, or are you going to put it up on the thing?
Spell it just in case, but I will put it up on the thing. Right, Let's just give them all of it.
So the Dan Feuerriegel, TheDanFeuerriegel. That's my Instagram. I think Twitter is DG Feuerriegel, but I don't really use Twitter anymore. I don't like going on there and watching like the world burn.
It's not as fun as Instagram.
And then Facebook is Dan Feuerriegel, and I've got the little blue ticks. No one else is me, because I do have a lot of fake accounts that try and get money off people.
That's awful.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's friends of mine who I'm trying to like get them to get money off them. Projects at the moment, I've got a graphic novel that I'm in the process of creating with a couple of friends back in Australia. We launch our Kickstarter on December, I think it's 8th. I'm not too sure, but it'll be on my account. So I'm really excited about that. It's just like a story that I've had for a while that I'm, you know, getting someone to create it. We've got an artist in Italy and a colorist from another place kind of doing it all together. And it's really kind of cool seeing something like that come together. I've got a couple of scripts that I've written that are kind of in the process of being looked at and things like that. So that's a lot of fun. And I'm also starting a headband business. I'm in the early stages of my headband business.
He gave me a peek at one, and they're so cool.
Yeah, a headband.
Like
awesome.
athletic.
Like an athletic, yeah.
Yeah. So I just, I had an idea that came to me one day, and I'm in the process of doing that. So I'm going to do an announcement soon on Instagram to kind of looking for artists who want to create some headbands and stuff like that. So that should be a lot of fun. So I'm doing that.
Awesome.
A lot of little side business, doing stupid sketches on Instagram, with my Aussie character. G'day, mate. How you going?
It's so fun.
Yeah, and that was a lot of fun being creative. Like in a weird way, the quarantine and pandemic has been very good to me. So I'm very, very grateful, very lucky that that's the case. And in the running for a couple of gigs acting wise, but as I said, if they're meant to be, they're meant to be. Otherwise, I'll get the show or the TV or the movie that I'm supposed to get. So that's when it'll come out.
And we're rooting for you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And the same to both of you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Alexa, are you an actor as well, or?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, of course you are. You spoke about the Runaways. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
What was that like?
It was really fun.
Yeah.
It was really fun. Yeah, it was just a co-star role, but it was really fun. I shouldn't say it's just a co-star role. That was terrible.
It's
like no,
it's a big deal.
That's
yeah.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely correct. I was telling a friend the other day about my headband business, and I kind of went like headband, and she was like, "Don't do that."
Yeah.
You're kind of poo-pooing your idea straight away because not something massive. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm doing a headband business. Fuck you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Oh no.
And yeah, no, absolutely. Getting a co-star role, getting a guest role, getting a lead role. It's a fucking victory.
Mm-hmm.
So good for you. Like there'll be plenty more, and you'll just progress and kick ass and rule the world.
Plenty more for all of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much.
You are awesome.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope.
You made this topic such a pleasure to tackle.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. It just showed that I'm a typical boy and like, oh yeah, Sharon Stone and Basic Instinct. I'm jerking off a lot when I was a kid.
No, I love it. We got everything.
The whole spectrum. And then you guys are like, oh, Dirty Dancing in the movie.
But I just feel like that's so telling. Like,
it is very telling. It is very telling. But no, thank you very much, ladies, for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I hope, I just had a funny sound come up on my laptop.
It's all good.
And I hope this episode does well for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
It was, definitely.
Yay. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all the things. If for some reason you want to see more of us, you can follow us on Instagram at NoOne'sOkay.
And a special thanks to Jordan Ross Weinhold, Sean Moore, Jason Crow, Claire Palmer, Jackson Palmer, Tiffany Haymoff, Shane Rings, James Liddell, and our podcast is recorded at Soundworks Studios.
We can't wait to meet you!